our agenda, and we're gonna go through it now. Obviously, the intros, you're gonna know about us. We're gonna know about you a little bit. If you are new here, at that point, we'd also like to hear that. Then we're gonna talk about our topic tonight, which is the essential things you need for napkin underwriting, top things that you need for that. Then we're gonna grab our napkin and we're gonna do some underwriting. So if anyone has a deal that they want to put on the napkin, let us know. We'll throw it up there and we'll kind of show you how to walk through that. All right. With that said, who are we, Ed? Who are you, brother?
So my name is Edward Shamirian, based out of Los Angeles, California. I'm a licensed realtor, own multifamily, been in multifamily for a while now, and like to underwrite, like the operations, like the strategy. I just love real estate, So if anyone needs help with anything, wants to connect, has any questions, feel free. I'm trying to grow and invest more in my backyard, but everything's far away from me, so there's not a location where I won't look at a deal, to be fair. I'm not picky at all, because everything requires a plane for me to get to. I also hate to drive, so there's that too. So let me know if there's a deal you need help with, want to partner with, anything it is. I'm your guy, and I'm open to helping out. Few people on this call or in this community have reached out, and I've spent time with them, underwriting deals, strategizing, talking to brokers, whatever you need, let me know.
I love it. I love it. Will, you want to introduce us, man?
Sure. What's up, everyone? My name is William Otis, and I'm here with my ride or die partner, Aldo and Chetta. We are from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm currently sitting in Louisville, Kentucky right now. But man, we are a couple of guys that have been in the senior living industry for the past about 12, 13 years, and have a rich background in asset management and operations. And I've owned some multifamily here now for a little over 10 years. And Aldo and I, about a year ago, decided to start up Stoic Holding Solutions. And man, we are super pumped. Just a couple young guys who love real estate and helping other people in the process. And so we're glad to be here this evening. Glad that you guys are here. And so with that, we want to get to know a little bit more about you. So we would love for, especially if some of you who are new this evening, to raise your hands. We'd love to get to know you a little bit. Keep it to about a minute. Where you're from, tell us where you're from, what brought you here, and would love to hear from you all. So, and if no one volunteers, we'll volunteer you here pretty soon. So. But who wants to introduce themselves?
What's up, everybody? Franco. I'm in Newport Beach, California. I've been doing real estate 1 year in February. So about a year and a couple months. Got my first big deals just in December. Almost didn't do real estate. And thank God for these two big deals. They put me over 6 figures, and I ain't going back.
Let's go, man. Glad to have you here.
So I got those deals in December, and now I'm stuck with a humongous tax bill. So it's time to own some shit and never pay taxes again.
Let's go.
Let's go. Love it.
So how did you find us?
My buddy Andre, he's on the call too. He told me about you. Then I met Ed 2 or 3 weeks ago at a event, Camacho's event.
Awesome.
You met Ed, and that didn't keep you away?
That's messed up. Peter, when you don't have your background, it sounds like you're just bashing me.
I mean, he is, but
you would. Yeah, but at least the background, you know that I love you, Ed.
I know.
That's awesome.
Great meeting, Ed. We had a great time.
Good to have you on, brother.
Yeah, glad to have you here, man. Daniel.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? My name is Daniel. I'm Mama Remy. A good friend of mine named Peter, not Mr. Smith, but the other Peter. He actually referred me to this group. My company name is Visionary State LLC. So in Georgia.
Nice.
So Atlanta metropolitan area. Pretty much we have the skill set of acquisitions. So we're able to find deals, create deals, negotiate the deals. Pretty much, same way apartments education, you have your sponsor, you have your acquisitions manager. I'm pretty much skilled in acquisitions. So currently right now, I actually have a deal I'm about to put on the contract. It's a 16 unit in Alabama, but two as well. I have 3 deals that I'm actually working on. They're over 100 units. One is in Mississippi, Macomb, Mississippi. Another one is in Washington, D.C. area, suburban area. It has 119 units. And then another one is in Columbia, South Carolina. It's near University of South Carolina, and it's 121 units, 12-story high-rise. And yeah, I'm just looking for great connections like Peter. I started this when I was like 19 and a half. I'm currently 23 years old right now.
Let's go, man.
Bring
Awesome.
check it, man. Let's go. That's awesome.
Welcome. Glad to have you, man. And I know, Rosa, you kind of popped up for a second. Would love to get to know you too.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Rosa. I am based on Boston, Massachusetts. I started in the multifamily mindset about a year ago. I am closing right now as an LP on a deal right now. And I'm focusing on underwriting. I'm doing some practice underwriting because I spend a lot of time trying to figure it out where is that I was the greatest at in all the positions, because I'm brand new to real estate in general. I always knew I wanted to do real estate. I have been a server for like 9 years, and I just want to switch over to something that will leave my kids in a great place, not just have my day-by-day basic. So
I love it.
yeah, great to be here, and grateful to be here for you guys to put in this together.
Yeah, well, hey, Rosa, we're glad to have you, and awesome story. I think that's what we all are. Many of us in the multifamily freedom chasers, we're just, kind of guys and women out there who, a lot of us have W-2 jobs, and real estate is, something that we kind of do on the side that we hope to make into our full-time careers, and most importantly, create generational wealth, not only for ourselves, but more importantly for our families. Aldo and I, we both have, young children. And so, that's what it's all about, is creating that generational wealth for them. So anyway, we're glad you're here, and appreciate you guys sharing. Appreciate everyone sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to go into, I think, our ecosystem. Ed, you want to kind of talk a little bit about the ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. As you guys know, we have 4 calls a week, as you can see here, and the occasional surprise fun one that we throw in there. Sundays are the ones to light that fire, hence the fire, which is activation Zoom. We get some special guests in the industry and in just different perspectives and different experiences in multifamily space and commercial in general. Monday, Peter handles the broker talks, where we reach out to brokers, role play and whatnot. I also am on that call where I assist him with that. And that's how we try to find the deal. That's the objective, is to try to walk you through every step of this and be a resource everywhere as possible. Tuesday night is us, as you guys are all here. We're here every Tuesday night, same time. And Wednesdays alternate. We either get debt talk with the Miles family, or we get more underwriting with Victor. That's just a brief summary. If you want to know what more that entails, you're going to have to watch those YouTube videos or hop on tomorrow. I think that's the best way. I personally don't feel I do justice when I talk about each of these calls, because they each do a great job doing it themselves. So I highly recommend checking it out. I will post the YouTube link again, which has all of the recordings and the videos. So if there's any old ones you want to watch, if you miss one, this is where to find it.
Sweet. And this is how you can get a hold of us. If you have any questions on anything, you want us to take a look at a deal with you, gonna walk you through it. This is how you can get a hold of us. You can also call us. All of our numbers are on our names here. Also, well, I have my Instagram handle on there, so hit us up, or our Instagram handle. the stoic voice. I don't know what he's doing out there. But no, yeah, feel free to reach out to us and let us know how we can help. With that, I think we talk a little bit about the things that you need for napkin underwriting. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, let's do it. Real quick, I know I posted it before, but we've got a lot of people jumping in since then. The two forms are: one, fill out your information so people know how to find you. The second form is essentially where you find everyone in the community's information, the way to network and find people that are in your area or looking to invest in the same area as you, and then the YouTube channel as well. And I will also throw in the calculator, which will help. So you guys have all those tools available. I recommend coming on the call because I will occasionally give some other cool free templates and other calculators and stuff like that for the people on the call. I can't promise them every week, but occasionally I will drop a few gems here and there. So yeah, that's it with those docs, and we could jump into what the napkin underwriting is. I'm pulling up to share the link now so you guys can follow, but thanks for putting it on the screen. The one thing I'll always say when it comes to anything you're using to underwrite is making sure you understand it. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to dissect this, especially once you get to a more advanced calculator or you go into a deeper dive. And that's what we like to do on these calls, is making sure you understand the tool we use and then can use it yourself. We do a nice job of having the current in-place rents, allowing you to automatically calculate the average rents that are in place now with the total number of units, and then being able to really just say, hey, this is the income, the expense percentage is based off of, you use like a standard at 50%. Obviously that does vary based on the property, the project, what needs to be done, and then it pops out the NOI. That's kind of like a brief overview of that section specifically. Up to that point, what the NOI essentially does and why it's important to know that, regardless of how you're purchasing the property. When you're trying to get a loan, when you're trying to pitch to investors for raising their capital that they're going to invest the money, you need to know what the current state is. Everyone knows in the single family space, you're buying a fixer, you know you have to make improvements. Well, this is the same thing on a larger scale, but you want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. And that's what this number helps reflect. And that's where the line below, going in cap rate, really shows like, okay, how much value am I adding to this? How big of a project am I taking on? And what am I getting myself into? You'll hear a lot of experienced investors say you lose money on the purchase on a bad deal. But you can also make it if you buy at the right price and right, whether it's a combination of creative, traditional, however you buy it, it really comes down to doing proper underwriting. And that's why we do the Zoom, to be honest. Although we'll want to add anything up to that point.
Yeah, so just to kind of recap, some of this stuff here, what is it that you need to begin the journey of napkin underwriting? Well, what the information that you need is it's really simple, right? And you can get it from your brokers, you can get most of it from your OM. If you have an offering memorandum, offering memorandum, it'll have all of this on there. What you need is current rents. What are the average current rents? We'll get into how that's displayed on here later. Average current rents, what are we currently actually charging per unit for this asset? Number two, what is the occupancy rate? Said another way, what is the vacancy rate? So you need to know how many of those units are occupied. We won't get into economic occupancy at this point, but that is also very important to know and understand. Out of these people that are on here, out of the 90% of units occupied, how many of those are actually paying on time and we've collected on, right? That's economic occupancy. And then you're going to want to know how much they're asking for it, often called the whisper price or the guidance price. You need that to determine if it's a good deal or not, right? Once you have that information and you put it on the left side of the napkin on over here, then what you're gonna want to know, hey, where are my rents going? Where is this market going? Right? Where do I think the rents are gonna be able to go here? Where do I think I can drive the occupancy to? And if I'm a really, really good operator, what do I think I can do with the expenses so that I can lower my expense ratio and increase my NOI? Right? So those are the 4 things that you need. Did I do 4? The 4 things that you need to get started with a napkin underwriting, have an idea of whether it's a good deal or not. We have a whole bunch of stuff on here that that you can plug in here so that you can get some of these numbers, and we'll go over that in another in another Zoom. One more thing, the 5th one, you need to know the asset class, because the asset class is going to determine your expense ratio and potential rehab or amount. So
And
that's it. Yeah.
something real quick to add to that, and we stress this a lot on the calls, is
Hey,
knowing your market beyond the cost. Like, knowing the cost is one thing, but you really want to know the market. Like, do you, in the city you live in, think about it. Do you know if you cross X street, rents are going to be higher or lower than the other side, right? If you don't know that and you're running comps, or you're looking at property or something like that in an area, and you're looking at across the street, what if across the street's a different town, a city, a zip code? There's something there that you don't know about. You're really not helping this. So it's like you're on the wrong page, essentially. So it's really important to understand fully what market you're in, where you're looking to invest, and having the proper resources around you to be able to properly, like, all right, I'm getting the information I need. So resources to know about asset class, broker, lender, co-star, property management companies are a good one too, because they should know the area. One thing that they may know that a lot of people won't is the activity and the turnover rate of units. If they say they have a line out the door for units at a competitive rate, that's good to know. They say, hey, we struggle to get people into the tenants when someone vacates. That's also very good to know. Does that scare you away from the property? No, I don't think it should. But that's something you have to underwrite, because my vacancy percentage is higher. Remember, the vacancy percentage isn't just like a rule of thumb you put in there because you think you need it. The vacancy rate is there to make sure that you, when a tenant leaves, you're factoring in those days off market. When rehab needs to be done, like, these are things to factor in and account for. So keep in mind that those things are all very important, that property management may seem more on day-to-day than even some realtors, because they don't deal with leases. They don't know what that traffic is like.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. And you said something very important too. Does this scare us off the property? There are several things that could spook you from a property, and that's what underwriting is for, so that we know what's coming. I always liken it to, in the movies, in the scary movies, most of them are scary because you don't really see the monster. But once you see the monster, it's not that scary, right? There's like, you might be screwed, but it's not as scary when you can't see it, right? When you can see it. So if you have all of the things, all of the monsters that you can dig up from looking at all these, items that you get from the brokers, it minimizes how scary it is. It minimizes how daunting it is to, snatch up a deal, right? And it gives you an opportunity to be able to put a business plan together to be able to tackle those things that can be scary. And that's a competitive advantage over other people that might be scared off of a deal because they don't see everything. So
I want to add one more thing to kind of end it on this is, if anyone is in the single family game, or it has been in the single family business, whether it's flipping, wholesaling, or whatever it is, no matter what property I put in front of you, there is a number for you and for your buyer and for any flipper, that number, there is a price that works for that house. I don't care if I told you have to dig up the ground and start from complete scratch. there is a number that makes sense for everybody. Find out one, what resources you have available, so you know what work you're capable of doing, but also it's the same concept. If I told you everything that's wrong with a single family home and you gave me a number based on that information, you won't make a bad purchase. Underwriting isn't necessarily just seeing if what they're asking for makes sense. It's also knowing what you could pay for you, because then when they come back to you and say, hey, what price works for you? If not the ask price, you have a number. And having that number allows you to start the discussion. And that's the whole negotiation process. It's not as quick and unfortunately not as fast either as the single family space. I've been waiting 2.5 weeks for a response on an LOI I sent on a Florida deal. And they're probably going to say no, and then I'm just on to the next, given that we know they got a cash offer. So when that comes into play, you're like, all right, we can try to counter, but we don't really have much of a chance when they don't have their contingencies, you know? So at the end of the day, you got to know what you're working with, and I'm not going to force a square peg in a round hole. Someone comes in with an all cash offer of 17 million with no due diligence, there's a good chance they're winning that deal, and that's the one that I'm willing to move on from, because we did everything we can, you know.
Awesome. Absolutely. Do we have any questions before we move on to getting our napkins out?
Hey, Aldo, you were saying like asset class also very important. How that will play a role in the exit strategy?
Sure.
Can you a little bit more give more information on that?
Yeah, it plays a role in several different areas. In the beginning, the way that it plays a role is that it establishes a potential expense ratio, right? So there's all kinds of data that kind of establish what expense ratios are for different asset classes. And that the reason for that is the age of the asset and the amount of maintenance necessary for each one of those asset classes, right? So if you're buying a C class, it's likely that it's, 80s and back in time. And so there's a lot more potential maintenance issues that you need to take care of that might cost you more than an A class, which is, or a brand new build where you don't have as many maintenance issues, right? So on the front end, it helps you determine, what your potential NOI could be, really just based on expense ratios. And that's, I've found that to be pretty close and pretty solid. These lender companies, they have all kinds of data, and they're basically spitting out most C classes. You're looking at a 50% expense ratio, right? And it goes down to like 45 when you're looking at an A class. Now, have we seen C classes running at 30, 35%? Yes. That's for you to really discover and see if there's a red flag there too. That seems a little low to me, but it's doable. So on the front end, it plays that role. On the back end, it plays a role as well, depending on what your strategy is. So if you purchase, let's say you purchase a C class asset in a B class market, right? And for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, is there are, two categories of asset class. There's the asset class for the actual asset itself, and then there's a class for the market, right? And those could be the same or they could be different. So for the purposes of this example, if you buy a C class asset in a B class market, and you are hoping to bring up the C class asset to a B class asset by putting in rehab money, then you're essentially bringing up the rates to the B class market, which should be higher than the C class market rents, right? So on exit, it could play a big role depending on the market asset and the market class that you have purchased in. Now, if you purchase a C class and a C class asset in a C class market, it may not make sense for you to bring it up to a B class, right? And so just kind of keeping it there, you just spruce it up, you put lipstick on the pig, like they said, and you raise rents to the market for C class. You don't want to drive rents too much on that. well, not fair, and two, it's just no one's gonna go into your asset.
One more point on the class as well. Keep in mind, if it comes down to knowing your neighborhood, you can't change where this building was built. You can't move a deal a block or two over because that area is nicer. If you're underwriting and you're like, hey, I can get the rent up to X number, let's say from 1,000 to 1,500, you have to make sure that you're comparing it to similar properties, like where your comps are being ran in a neighborhood that's, if not the same, and like as close as possible to yours. Because the worst thing you can do is run wrong comps on the back end. You messed up your underwriting and you lost money on the purchase, and that's the bottom line. Knowing the cost, knowing what the upside is, and then being conservative from there is how you can make sure you don't underwrite a deal poorly or over underwrite, and there's a lot more upside than you originally anticipated, and then you're stuck like, uh-oh, what do I do now? Because you'll never get to that number. You can't control the market like that. So to really is important when you're running your comps as well, because you want to make sure, even in OMs, the offering memorandum, like Aldo was saying earlier, they can have 1 million comps. Unless you verify that they're actually in a similar class area and you cross over that one street and numbers aren't inflated, you got to make sure of that. And knowing your market is how you make sure that doesn't come to bite you.
Absolutely. Did that help any, Mohan?
Yeah, definitely, Aldo. Thanks, Edward, as well.
Yeah, you got it.
Of course. Now Peter said that Daniel has a deal, but now also I'm seeing that Ashley, you also have a deal, an 8 unit. So whoever raises their hand first, man, that's what we're gonna get to. So whoever unmutes and talks.
Peter
right.
put the chat first.
She beat me
Yeah.
too.
Okay, go for it.
Who won the race?
I think Daniel won the race.
Daniel won the race if Peter mentioned him first.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's go through that. So Daniel, we don't
First.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, we're gonna learn either way, and we might be able to squeeze them in both. So Daniel, do you have the information with you?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
yeah, I definitely do. Now I do kind of like to get people to NDAs, CTAs, but you know what? Who cares? I need help. I need help.
Hold on. I'm happy you brought that up, actually. So since this
Yeah.
is recorded and it's put on YouTube and we can't necessarily control who sees it after that, I prefer you not to share the information. Just give us the numbers if you know how to navigate that on here. If not, send it to Will and Aldo, not myself, and then we can do everything behind the scenes to explain how we're getting to those numbers so that you don't have to share everything. We want to respect all your deals and whoever's bringing it to the table. Like, we appreciate you guys sharing it with us. We don't want to put you in a situation that sharing it doesn't like puts you in a bad position.
Yeah, it's not even just me. I mean, it's mainly the owner. I have like most of the owners, they're saying like, hey, whatever buyer you send it to, you know, make sure it's
No, of course. And we don't, because of the whole YouTube thing, we don't want to put that information out to everyone. So we don't know who sees it after that. So for you listening, don't steal our deals.
Yeah. But I could definitely tell you details.
Amazing.
So it's exactly 100 units. Matter of fact, let me type it up. Macomb.
Yeah, and if you can see the calculator that all those running through, so if you can go down that line of the information that you have on hand, that'll help us input it, and then we can explain to the group where to find that information and how that all pertains.
So let's do the blue numbers up here first.
Yeah.
So average, what do you got?
It's wild. It ranges from like 575 all the way up to 1,000. It's kind of interesting how they built this entire apartment complex, because it is only one parcel number. So you have one bedroom, you have few units that are only 1 bedrooms, and other units is 2 bedrooms. and then it goes all the way up to 5 bedrooms. It's kind of interesting how, yeah. I mean, you have to see the rent rolls, and you be very, very surprised. It's a little bit wild.
Sure.
That may become a problem on the, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, have you been able to figure out an average, or if not, we can type them in here. If you have all the different unit types in here and each price, and it'll spit out an average.
Yeah, and the average, I'll look it up right now.
So I was gonna ask you, where are you getting those information, the rent from, the rent roll or the OM?
The rent rolls, yes, sir.
Okay, so on the rent roll, do they have market rents on it or just what they're collecting?
Yeah. Matter of fact, because the owner told me that the property manager, he quoted the market rent on one side, and it has the actual rent of what the tenants are paying
Perfect.
for on one
So-
side.
So I'm happy you brought that up, and it may be hard to picture without the visual in front, but I'll try to explain it as simple as I can. If you're not sure, and it's like a very crazy unit mix on the rental, which a lot of times it may be, just go down to the bottom of it. They should have a summary of what the current rents are and what the market rents are. Now, if you don't have the pro forma, use that market rent number as your base. As like hey, this is the potential I'm gonna underwrite it for the napkin. When I go into a further deep dive, I would then see, okay, how much more upside do I have? And also that's something that one thing I want to add to this is the point of the napkin underwriting is not to give you an answer. The point is to find out what questions you need to ask the broker again, or the seller themselves if you're direct to seller. I feel like using the napkin as your decision maker is not the appropriate way to use the tool. This tool is used to one, figure out what else you need to find out and plug any holes you're missing to then do a deeper dive into and go advanced. So if you have the rent roll, I would just take the total rents they have now, divided by 100, which is easy to do, plug it into your average rent. So now you know what your total income is today, which is very important because you don't want to pay for future value that you have to put the work in for. And that's my biggest pet peeve with realtors. And then use the market rent as like, this is my worst case scenario if I don't do any rehab. They're telling you what that number is. Then it goes back to, do you know if it needs rehab? How much rehab? And then how much are they projecting the upside to be? If you're direct to the owner, that's a little harder to get those numbers. So I understand if you don't have them, but it's a good problem to have because direct to owner means you're probably going to find a better deal. It just takes more legwork.
Yes, sir.
So I know I talked a little fast there, but
Oh, no, yeah, I definitely grasp everything that you said.
but that's the type of deal where it's like you want to do the legwork up front because you get a better deal on the back end because the owner isn't necessarily as organized. There's no one else in their ear, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so let's go back to the average rents. Do you have an average rent, or are we trying to figure it out?
Yeah, yes, sir. Give me a second here while I look up.
And guys, anyone else, while we're going through this, if you have questions, put in the chat, and then Will or myself will comment them, or if we feel like we can bring it up as we're going through the calculator, we'll talk about it as well. So don't hesitate.
Yeah, so there's a lot of 500s here. So the average rent is like around 555. 555, yes, sir.
Let's do that. You know what the occupancy is right now?
It's currently right now, it's out of 100 is 8 units vacant and pretty much, let me see, 92 units occupied.
92%. Okay. So this total income line item, just by the way, guys, does not include any extra income. This is just flat rental income. And it's just to give us an idea of what we can generate from this deal in terms of rents. Okay, we're using do you know if it's a C-class asset?
It's definitely D class.
D-class?
It's Macomb, Mississippi. So it's around the D class, yes, sir.
I do not have one here for D-class, so I mean I think we can keep it at 50%. What do you guys think on a D-class and kind of go from there? If you have the T12, you can kind of figure out what their current expense ratio is, and it might be more than 50. We could, it could be 55, and maybe we can mess with that later, just to kind of get conservative. All right, so spitting out an NOI. Okay, so what is, well, I'll go over this after we get the guidance.
Yeah, right,
What is
yeah.
the guidance?
So yeah, he's asking 55K a door.
55 a door?
So 5.5.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Aldo, are you sharing the numbers on the screen or
I am. I thought I was.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
maybe?
Honestly, I wish you weren't, because that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, for real.
I'm
For
just
half
seeing
hour.
your smiling face.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, can't you see?
Oh, that'd have been-
So where do you think we can drive these rents to?
Let me see here. So give me a second here. So the market rent is at 750 for 2 bedrooms. There's majority of this, majority of these, there's like a mixture of everything. I kid you not. So the 550s, the 555s, the market rent is at 750. Now, yeah, and there's this it's a wild mixture of everything. I'm not even lying to you. Once you guys see the NDAs, you'll see for yourself. 3 bedrooms are at 900, and then you have the 5 bedroom.
So I mean, we can be safe at like 800 average for now until, you know, you could, or like Ed said, you could just divide up the total market rents by 100. Or total market revenue by 100 and give you an average.
I think he froze.
I think we might have lost him.
Uh-oh, Daniel, you still with us? All right, while he's coming back, I'm gonna go over this part right here really quick for those of you that are new, if there are any people. This is just a way, a little calculator for you to figure out average market rents. What you do is you just put for each unit type, you put the amount of units, the square footage, the unit type, and the rent per month for all your unit types. Some are straightforward and they're all like 2 1s or 1 1s. Some of them are like this one, they have like 5 million. You put them all in here and it gives you a total. And then you do the same for the market rents. I think you're back, Daniel. And you're muted, brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just out of nowhere just died on me. I don't know why.
All good. All right, so I put 800 here, but it's probably going to be, it might be more than that if they're all 750 and then, you know, you have more. So as you're figuring that out, we can keep talking through these. So just to kind of finish this side over here, actually, you know, if we put in an, if, you know, they're asking or put in an, if we're putting in an offer for 5.5, which is, you know, the total guidance price, at our NOI, the going in cap rate is going to be 5.57, which is not, well, it's a D class, so it you know, it could be pretty bad. So what is cap rate for those of you that, you know, are still struggling with that, which I struggled with for a while? Cap rate is basically capitalization rate. It is just the unlevered returns. How much money are you getting back if you had bought this thing all cash, no debt? So basically NOI being your return, it is 5.57% return on your investment. That's what going in cap rate is. Why is that important? Because we want to make sure that when we get debt on this, that the going in cap rate or the cap rate is below, sorry, above above the interest rate that we're getting a loan on, because otherwise it's what's called being negatively leveraged. And that means that you probably won't be able to make your payments. Your debt service coverage ratio, which we'll cover in another lesson, is going to be less than optimal for a lender. And it's not a good deal.
Also,
yeah,
the
go ahead.
cap rate is relative and does factor in like the class of the property, going back to previous conversation.
Sure.
If you have a low cap rate, you want to make sure that the area justifies that. If you have a high cap rate, that's more for lower class areas. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad neighborhood, doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad building. It just means rents just don't go that high, and that's the bottom line. It says nothing negative about the location. But that's something to keep in mind as well. If you're telling me I'm getting a 10% cap rate or 8% cap rate in an A neighborhood, I'm worried. Like, how's that? Like, what's going? This is a disconnect. Like, it doesn't add up, right?
Right, and so that's the actual cap rate of the asset itself, right? The return of the asset itself. Then there's the market cap rate, which we'll get to into the next portion of this. So at this price right now, Daniel, at this price, at this average rent, at this occupancy, this cap rate for me I would say this is probably too low for me. It's too high of a price to pay for this asset, in my opinion, as if I were underwriting this, right? I would need this to be above 6% for sure, probably 6.5, 7% cap rate, especially if it's a D class. And if it's an D class or C class area, I'm gonna need for that to be a little bit higher. So what does that mean? I either bump my offer way down to make sure that that matches. Right.
D class, probably looking at 9 or 10.
Oh, well, there you go. If a Bill and Pete is saying it, you know it's gospel truth, man. And so, yeah, you probably want to be even higher than that. So, anyway, that's first glance there.
Daniel, have you gotten a debt quote on this property yet?
No, sir. I mean, this is a fresh lead that I got last week, Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have done a deal with the owner before, so that's why he gave me this lead. And the owner is a pretty big investor here in the Southeast. He owns like a lot of properties, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina. So I guess he just threw it at me. I don't know if he's trying to cash out on a ridiculous price, which is kind of unreasonable, being that he's an investor, or I don't know. You know, I'm just trying to figure it out.
I know exactly where Ed's mind is going to, right?
I was going to ask the same
Say
question.
this time in my defense, though, I'm not going to bring it up, but I always offer creative. That's what the joke is. But one thing I wanted to point out on this as well, the going in cap rate, a big portion and component of it, based on the numbers that we have here, is one, if this is in California, we're getting tenants out sucks, different conversation. I'm having issues with a tenant right now, long story. But if it's in a state where the tenant laws are friendlier and it's easier to navigate, and you can realize and make up the difference in the high, in bringing those rents up, and the unit may not be bad, the owners didn't manage it well, I would still look at this. Because it's one important thing to remember too in this space is how much work and money does it take to get from point A to point B. That's a big factor in the whole purchase and the strategy of this. So I don't like dismissing a deal without diving a little deeper and knowing why.
Franco, go for it, man.
What's up? What's up? Couple quick questions. I guess I'm just starting my multifamily journey and marketing. Is there a hot market that you guys would recommend? A state?
So every state will have its flaws. Obviously, California, you know it, tenant rights is a big one. Florida, you have the insurance. Texas, you have property tax. And I'm sure everywhere you go, you'll find something different. The hot market, one thing I like to do, and I know Aldo and Will are big on this too, is where are they most resourceful? Like, I know where I have my resources, so I tend to lean there. But there is obviously the Sun Belt's exciting for everyone with Florida, Texas, Georgia. The Carolinas are fun and a hot market at times. And then you have Ohio, which is kind of like more up north, but it's a market that people are interested in as well. So it really is where are your resources and where do you prefer to invest in? What market do you believe in? Because the biggest part is you are playing a bit of an economic game as well. As much as we may not like to admit it, we don't have control over everything when we're doing this. When you're looking 4 or 5 years out, you have no idea what's going to happen. You have to believe in the city you're investing in. That's a really big component of it. Like if you believe everyone's running out of LA, okay, maybe you're not looking in LA. If you believe everyone's running to Austin or Florida, okay, maybe you're a little interested there. If you know Apple, Amazon, or XYZ massive companies building in another city in the East, okay, maybe I'm interested in that city now. It really comes down to picking a city that you have done some research about, and then just really doing the homework and being comfortable there. But long-winded answer, but the top markets are always going to be Texas, Florida, red states, to be fair, but those are the biggest ones. Will, Aldo, feel free to add on.
Tennessee's a good state.
I like Tennessee. It's just
Yeah.
Very business friendly.
there's nothing like a Miami or a Dallas or Fort Worth there.
Sure. Yeah. Massive.
Those are like massive.
Georgia, baby.
Georgia, that's right.
Georgia's a big one too.
Atlanta's a big. So anyway, Danny, I want to go back to this and kind of finish out the other side of this napkin on this side. So Peter, you were saying from a market cap rate in this area, and Danny, you might be able to speak into this. Would you happen to know kind of what the market cap rate is there right now where this asset is for this class?
So this asset class is definitely D for sure, is because you see it on the rent rolls. On the rent rolls. Parts of it is A, and then you have other part is just regular tenants. So it's pretty much like a D, kind of C, but mainly D class area neighborhood. And two as well, even though it's pretty much 92% occupied, it does need full rehab from what the owner told me. Now, from the photos that I see that you guys are going to see, it looks completely fine. But at the same time, this is what the owner is being truthful about for me, because I have done a deal with him. I have a pretty solid relationship with him.
So
Yeah, never believe those photos. I'll just say that. But
yeah, I mean, yeah. Trust
they
me.
doctor them up, man. The reason I asked that, Daniel, is because this will help to determine what a potential exit, price would be, and it will determine our upside.
Yes,
It'll
sir.
help determine the upside, right? And so, if it's a D class in a D class, C class area, and I don't know where that is, I mean, we might be looking at closer to 7.5% on the exit cap rate for that. So, I'll go ahead and just, for example's sake, put 7% here for the exit cap rate on this area. And you can see what your potential upside could be once you stabilize rents, right? So the upside is just basically any amount of money above what you paid for. And it could be less because you're not factoring in rehab costs on this. So you have to kind of think about, maybe you put in 1.2 million of rehab onto this. Well, there goes all your upside. If you're raising for this. So you have to be cognizant of that as well.
One thing I want to add to the exit cap rate as well is the reason why that is important, because this isn't like a single family or something where I could just sell it and whatever the market gives me. When you're raising capital and you have investors who are relying on your performance or the general performance of the building, that exit cap rate is going to allow you to be conservative with what the value is on the back end, but also know, can I even pay back my investors plus some once it's all said and done? Because that's what the investors care about the most. If anytime you're underwriting a deal, what we get out of it as GPs means nothing if the investors aren't taken care of first. You're gonna lose every battle if you don't look after them first. That's why the exit cap rate is important.
Awesome. A couple of other things on here that I want to highlight again, for those of you that might be seeing this for the first time. It's just a quick debt overview. It just kind of gives you an idea of what a potential payment could be on this. It also shows you what your debt service coverage ratio could potentially be on these loan terms. Well, you're gonna get this from the loan term sheet once you get a debt quote on this to put it in here, or you can get an estimate, or you can ask Jerry, for, just a quick little quote on that. Then it gives you, there's a little area here for cash flow returns on year one based on the items that you put on here. So let's say that year one, I can get my rents up $100. What's that gonna do? What is that gonna do to my returns that year? Right, and you can see here 2% return. We like to see 4+ on these on year one, and then once it's stable, that's the return on that. Just kind of gives you an idea. It's not a full underwriting, but it's just a quick little, okay, this could be good. Let me get inside and get real granular on this. So
I want to add one more thing since we are kind of winding down on the call. You're taking all the numbers that the seller or property management company through their reports or the broker have given you through their reports. You're going off the numbers they've given you. So it's important that once you go through the napkin and you hit some of these marks that Aldo was mentioning, for you to take a deeper dive at it is when you really dig into those. You look through the T12 and say, does this add up? You go through the T12 and say, where are their expenses high? Where are they low? Where are mine gonna be when I look at this and operate it? Where can I improve the income? We haven't even touched on additional income, and that's why we don't have it on here. Additional income is a massive component to the value add of a property that if you get into now on the napkin underwriting, you're just gonna make it, every deal could look good if I just throw a couple thousands of dollars a month towards additional income. So as we wind down, that's just something I want to keep in mind generally as well, for anyone looking at these deals.
What would additional income be, like laundry?
So laundry's a good one, yeah.
Yeah,
So
water,
RUBS, which is utility reimbursement, any bill back with water, electric, gas. Late fees go in there, which you have to be aware of. Like, is there additional income high because they're doing utility bill back, or is it high because they have a bunch of late fees or keeping security deposits? Like, you see how just that one number, one looks like a good thing, like, oh, they put the right pieces in place. The other one is like, oh, they just have tenants that aren't responsible, and now it's a liability and not an asset. Like, I don't want to be collecting late rents or late fees. That's not a good thing.
also things you can't really quantify, like late fees. So
Exactly, it's
really
inconsistent.
you can't really add it on your underwriting.
Yeah. Also, parking is one, storage is one, covered parking, reserve parking. Those are a lot of the few ones that are options as well. So those are all things to keep in mind on when you're looking through the T12. We have old videos of the T12 and stuff. Yeah, pet fee. There you go, Ashley. Thank you. We have old videos going through a T12, but we'll do it one of these weeks as well, where we go into the real details of what looks right, doesn't look right, is high, is low, and so on and so forth.
Hey, Daniel, one other thing that I wanted to bring up on this asset particularly too is I take a look at your accounts receivable on this property, because that's a really good metric to kind of look at to see the health of the tenant base and so forth, and the bad debt on the assets. So especially when you're looking at a C, D class, C or lower, that's something you're going to want to really dig into and make sure you have pretty good line of sight on, because it's going to make a big difference on your ability to get your debt on this property. So again, just something to keep in mind as you continue to dig in. But I mean, based on what I'm seeing, I think this thing could have some potential. Just got to dig in a little bit more. So if there's anything we can do to help support you guys or help support you with this, just let us know. We're happy to help out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess if I can just get anybody's or anyone that's interested in just looking at the financials and possibly looking at if they'll be interested in probably buying or syndicating the deal, if you could emails down, because I have this one, but then again too as well, I also have a total of 3 I'm working on that I have a total. Then I have like 1 that I have under contract in Birmingham, So yeah, definitely. Anybody just drop their emails down. I'll send you the NDAs to sign first, and then boom, you can forward you information I have right now.
Text us, Aldo, Will, or I. Text one of us, and then we'll start a chat amongst us. Because if I'm reading it right, I think Aldo and Will, we might be interested. And I know you guys have been in that area before, but we'll always discuss it. And it's always worth a shot to see if we know somebody or if we think we can take it down. It's worth entertaining. If not, just help you underwrite a little more. Like, I'm open to that. Like I said, I've done it for a lot of people on this call. So even if it means just running the numbers and seeing like areas of opportunity with you, I'm open to doing that too.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you text me, Will, your number? I see it, but I don't see the other after 8.
Yeah, just go ahead and text me at my number there, and then I'll make a text thread. So
With that said, guys, we are at 9 o'clock. I want to mention 2 things. Mohammed, we'll let you ask the question here, but two things here. Actually, go ahead and ask your question, and we'll wrap it up after that.
It's pretty straightforward. The expense ratio of 50% you have mentioned, right? So for each class, what is the typical expense? I mean, definitely during the actual due diligence will go into the actual expense, but for the napkin underwrite, like what is the number typically for class A, B, C would use?
Yeah, so B and C are the same at 50%. Class A is 45% expense ratio as a rule of thumb.
Okay.
The rent roll will show what is actually being spent on that. I don't always trust that. Sometimes they get doctored up, the last 3 months when they're trying to sell. And I go with what I think I know the market is going to be able to bear from an expense standpoint. So we go when we're underwriting, we're going to go deep on this. So this is just a napkin.
Napkin. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then Franco, I know you had a question on 6 units. So after Aldo wraps up, I'll stick around to answer that.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. 2 things. One, are you guys getting any value out of this? Are you guys learning anything? We want to make sure that we're giving you value and that this is actually useful to you in your multifamily journey. So if you are, drop a fire in the chat for these guys and let us know that you are getting some value here. Number 2, there were a few deals out here that we couldn't get to. So Ashley, I see you. Why don't you email us at our emails here. We could do Ed, put our emails on the chat if you don't mind. Aldo will add.
I was gonna say, can you pull up that page on the slideshow? Is that easier?
Yeah. Great idea.
See, give a lazy man a difficult task and you'll find an easy way to do it.
Yeah, there you go. This is our contact info. Write it down, take a picture of it. And Ashley, we'd be happy to walk through that underwriting with you as well. Daniel, this is our contact info as well. Feel free to send us info. Let's jump on a call. Let's talk about it and see where we can go from here. So with that, we're going to send you off. Feel free to stay back. We can talk about that deal.
Yeah, I got you, Franco. I'll stick around.
Oh, cool.
No, espera.
All right, y'all. Have a wonderful Tuesday night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much as usual.
good seeing everyone. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.